This time we'll create our routes for the Gnarly tree manually. We'll use some of the Cinema 4D spline tools to get decent results. In the viewport you can see our ground, and we want that the routes follow this ground. So at first step you should create a spline. I'll choose the freehand spline, so activate freehand spline, and then I'm switching into the top view, and then I'm simply drawing several splines onto well, the surface, more or less onto the surface. Let's go with 4 splines, then go back into the perspective view, and now you can see that the splines of course don't care about the surface. So now we'll project the splines onto the ground. For good results, it's a good idea to have enough well, control points for our splines. So if you think you don't have enough control points, normally this would be enough, but I'll just show you the tools. So if you think you need more control points, choose structure functions and then subdivide. Use 2 subdivisions perhaps, and then you get more control points. You can do this for the other splines too if you want to. I don't want to go with Bezier splines, so I'll activate all the splines and change the type to a cubic, for example. When using Cinema 4D R9, it's possible with a lot of tools to select several objects and use those tools well, on all objects at once. And we'll do this right now. I subdivided all the splines. Now we'll have to hide the old Gnarly tree so that only the ground is visible. And now we'll use the command structure, edit spline, project. Be sure that all splines are active. And now you can choose the projection plane. We'll use XZ, or if you're in top view, you also simply could choose view projection. But especially if you're in 3D mode, it's good to choose XZ plane. Click OK. Now switch back into the perspective view, and you can see what happened. Now the splines are projected onto the surface and follow the ground. We can do choose undo. I'll just show the same command in the perspective view. Edit spline, project, projection XZ plane, click OK, and now the splines follow the surface. If the tree would have been visible during this projection procedure, then the splines also would have been projected onto the tree, which we don't want, of course. But now we can turn on the tree again, and then we can add either Xfrog branch objects, or you also could go with the regular Cinema sweep NURBS. I use the Xfrog 4 branch object. Simply delete the path spline and drag one of the projected splines onto the second position in the hierarchy, and then you'll see the first route. Activate the profile spline, change the angle to about 60 so that we don't waste too much polygons. Perhaps you want to increase the radius. And finally you can fine-tune the path of this route. Simply activate the first control point. I'm using the structure menu to do this, and move the control point a little bit upwards, perhaps something like that. Then I'm choosing the second one, bringing it up a little bit so that we have something like this. Perhaps you also want to change the angle value of the profile spline. Again, this can save you a lot of polygons. And now you can easily make use of the typical Xfrog tools. So for example, you can change the thickness of the root with the thickness curve and stuff like that. So you can easily fine-tune the look of the roots. As I said, please repeat this step for the other splines that you created. So here you can see the 4 Xfrog objects that make up the roots. I'm using the roots material that I created in the tutorial before, simply dragging it onto the root object and then control left click and dragging to copy the material onto the other roots. And then you can render. Yes, and I think the result looks pretty nice. Now you have a tree with roots that are following the ground.